From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update. Sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Thursday, December 16th. Have the rain jacket on hand as you head out today. Highs will be a lot cooler statewide as we progress through the day with highs in the mid-40s. Urban Meyer is out of a job this morning after being fired overnight as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The final straw in his short, rocky tenure, new accusations that he kicked a player, kicker Josh Lambo, in an August practice. Meyer is a three-time college national champion, but he lasted less than one season in the pros. His brief tenure was troubled from the start, most notably when video surfaced of him behaving inappropriately in a bar in Ohio, while the rest of the team was returning to Jacksonville after a loss. The Jaguars owner released a statement overnight saying, in part, "I am bitterly disappointed to arrive at the conclusion that an immediate change is imperative for everyone." Goes on to say, "As I stated in October, regaining our trust and respect was essential. Regrettably, it did not happen." Offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell will serve as interim head coach. The Colts will face the Jaguars January 9th in their last regular season game. IMPD is trying to figure out what led to the deaths of two people found inside a home on the northeast side. Officers were called to a welfare check on Adams Street near 25th and Sherman Drive just after 5 last night. Police on the scene tell News 8 that the men suffered injuries consistent with trauma.
We are not calling this a homicide scene at this point. That will come out as the investigation continues.
Right now, IMPD does not have any suspects in the case, and this morning, police are not identifying the victims. If you have any information, call Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. A group of Republican state senators will present bills designed to combat crime. Some leaders have been calling for more to be done for months now with violent crime on the rise. We have far surpassed the number of homicides this year compared to the last two. Overnight, some stats from recent years we looked up. In 2019, Indianapolis saw 172 homicides. In 2020, that number jumped to 245. At last check, IMPD is reporting that Indianapolis now sits at 253 homicides this year. Local leaders are calling on the state to make changes to the legal system to stop a surge of violence in Indianapolis. FOP President Rick Snyder and activist Reverend Dr. Charles Harrison with the Indy 10 Point Coalition are asking for changes like nonviolent crimes such as stalking or pointing a firearm to be deemed violent. They also want to prevent automatic bonds for repeat offenders. There's a news conference to address the bill. It happens today at 2 o'clock at the State House. We know there will be 5 state senators to detail the bill they are writing for the 2022 legislative session. A sobering moment at the Washington National Cathedral. The funeral bell rang out 800 times last night, one for every 1,000 people in the U.S. who have died from COVID-19. It comes as the threat of Omicron variant quickly rises across the U.S., forcing some colleges to go online. Princeton and NYU are the latest to close campus. Cornell was the first because of 900 new cases over the last week. The school says most of the cases are the Omicron variant, and most of those infected are fully vaccinated. 32 states have now confirmed Omicron cases. So far, Indiana has not. Dr. Anthony Fauci says vaccinations are key to curbing the surge and that boosters are imperative.
What we're learning about the Omicron variant is that although it has the capability of really evading the immune response by monoclonal antibodies and vaccine-induced antibodies, when you get a boost, you really reconstitute back up that level of protection that's lost by the particular aspect of the Omicron variant, which loses some of the protection. So if you're vaccinated, that's great, but get boosted if you're eligible to be boosted. That's really important message.
If current COVID trends hold, the CDC is predicting a grim winter. And vaccine mandates are up for debate this morning. State lawmakers begin discussing restrictions on when employers can require the shot. The measure would prohibit any employer from requiring the vaccine unless employees can opt out for medical or religious reasons. Employers would have to cover the cost of any mandatory COVID-19 testing and couldn't test employees more than once a week. Chamber of Commerce President Kevin Brinegar says one manufacturer with about 700 employees told him that would cost them about $1.2 million in 6 months. Brinegar says that the vast majority of employers in Indiana don't have a vaccine requirement, but it could be very disruptive for those that do. And during an interview with Wish TV last week, Governor Eric Holcomb would not commit one way or another on the idea, but he tells us that he generally favors letting individual businesses decide what to do about vaccine requirements. And this morning, President Biden is back at the White House after touring tornado damage in Kentucky. Biden visited the hard-hit towns of Mayfield and Dawson Springs. The current confirmed number of deaths stands at 74, with more than 100 still missing. Power is still out for thousands of homes and businesses. The president says it's important for people to come together and bridge differences.
The way people just come out of nowhere to help as a community. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what America's supposed to be. There's no red tornadoes or blue tornadoes. There's no red states or blue states when this stuff starts to happen.
The White House approved disaster declarations for Kentucky, Illinois, and Tennessee. The NFL is re-examining its COVID-19 protocols after a surge of new cases. Around 100 players have tested positive this week alone. That's a record number of cases this season. According to the NFL, many of those players are fully vaccinated. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the world is entering a new phase of the pandemic, so the league needs to find new solutions. The NFL says it's given teams greater roster flexibility and expanded practice squads to help deal with the roster changes. Goodell says that there's been no discussion about postponing any games. And the CDC is celebrating the WNBA for getting 99% of its players fully vaccinated. That's the highest rate so far of any professional American sports league. The WNBA says it took a player-led approach to vaccinations, working to understand players' questions during early education, holding open discussions with diverse medical experts, and delivering easy-to-understand information. Greenfield police are trying to track down the thieves who took off in two high-performance vehicles from a dealership. Video from the dealership shows that it took just a couple of minutes for the thieves to get out of the lot with the cars early yesterday morning. The dealership's owner believes the suspects used sophisticated equipment to start the vehicles.
There is a portal, so to speak, underneath the steering wheel. It would appear that they were using something like that to plug into it to get the vehicle, I would say, booted up.
Police didn't confirm if such a device was used, but did say the thieves are targeting smaller communities because they won't be noticed. One of the cars was found at the intersection of 75th Street and Shadeland Avenue. The dealership's owner says he's considering some security upgrades in hopes that it doesn't happen again. An IT mate hasn't stopped pressing for answers when it comes to the state demanding people repay tens of thousands of dollars in unemployment benefits. Our team has followed the story for months, and several people have contacted our reporters in the past week. They tell us they qualified for benefits but are now getting threats from the Department of Workforce Development. They could face liens on homes, garnished wages, and calls from collection agencies. The state has waived some repayments, but not everyone got one. One woman tells ITV that she got a letter demanding she repay $20,000 in benefits.
I don't know what's going to happen. I hope I don't have to pay it back because, I was out of work and I had lost my job. And then right before I started to get employment, everything shut down. So, trying to find a job was very hard.
ITMate has reached out to the Department of Workforce Development and has not heard back. And for many, being able to see an IU basketball game in person at Assembly Hall would be a dream come true. But the games aren't always the easiest to afford for low-income fans. A new partnership called the Hoosier Ticket Project is giving those fans a chance. News 8's Demi Johnson spoke with the creators.
Every fan has a story.
I remember my first time at Assembly Hall. I met some of the basketball players.
And that's significant for us, and we want other people to be able to have that same experience.
And for some, seeing IU play at Assembly Hall wouldn't be possible without her, Martha the Mop Lady, a fictional character who is synonymous with Indiana basketball.
Whenever I thought of Indiana basketball, I thought of her. So, when she popped up on Twitter and started giving away tickets, it was something I think each of us wanted to find a way to be involved with.
In 2019, Martha the Mop Lady put out a tweet that changed everything. She asked for families who didn't have the means to take their child to an IU game to reach out to her, and she would send them. Soon, her mission grew, eventually becoming too much for one Twitter account to handle. That was until a trio of true Indiana basketball fans stepped in.
Here we are today, and partnered with her to kind of take what she was starting on Twitter to the next level and create a nonprofit and try to grow the thing and get as many kids and families down to Bloomington as we can.
Josh Bruick is the now CEO of the newly formed Hoosier Ticket Project. On his team are also Jason Girdham, COO, and Amanda Pavelka, Director of Engagement.
We've been able to institute some protocols, some procedures, some software that's going to allow us to scale that idea And then one piece that hadn't been there that Amanda is going to be phenomenal at, because she's at so many of the games and is really taking care of the people who then get the tickets.
I'm really excited to partner with youth organizations, kids who maybe have never been to a game or their families can't afford to go to a game. Just partnering with them and giving them their first experience.
The Hoosier Ticket Project has already given hundreds of fans a seat in Assembly Hall. But for the team making the miracles happen, the project is about more than just basketball.
More importantly, the impact that I think it's having on these young kids, to give them just maybe a little bit of hope that this is, maybe I'll play basketball, maybe I'll go to school here.
In Indianapolis, I'm Demi Johnson for Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com. And follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
Sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling. This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.